गुरु प्यारी साध संगत जी गज के फतेह बुलाओ वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह. Today, as we gather for Shaheedi week, we aren't just simply revisiting historical events that happened centuries ago. We're returning to moments that shaped the foundation of Sikh thought, Sikh courage, and Sikh responsibility. The days of Po are remembered because they were defining. They show us what Sikhi looks like when comfort is stripped away, when safety is uncertain, when families are separated, and when life itself is no longer guaranteed. Shaheedi week is difficult, not because it is sad, but because it asks us to look at ourselves honestly. It asks us to reflect. It asks us to reflect on ourselves, and it asks us a hard question. What do these sacrifices demand from us today? So, for a quick recap, Po Che, we reflected on the departure of Kila Pandarwaada Sahib after an 8-month-long siege. For 8 months, the Sikhs inside Anandgarh endured extreme hunger, deprivation, and constant pressure. Food supplies ran out. Children and elders suffered. Daily life became a struggle, not just for comfort, but for survival. Outside the fort stood enemy forces who hoped that starvation and exhaustion would break the Sikhs' resolve. Yet, even in this condition, Guru Gobind Singh Ji refused to give up the Sikh principles. The decision to leave Anandgarh was not accepting defeat or surrendering. It was a conscious, strategic choice rooted in dignity and foresight. Guru Sahib showed us that Sikhi is not rooted in land or forts or physical structures. Sikhi lives in values, discipline, and clarity of purpose. When the time came, the Sikhs left their stronghold as refugees, but as sovereign individuals who carry their identity within them. Sometimes standing in truth requires walking away from what feels safe, even when the path ahead is unknown. On Po Sat, we remember one of the most heartbreaking moments in Sikh history, Parvar Vichoda, when Guru Sahib's family was separated at the Sirsa River. During this difficult time, Guru Gobind Singh Ji recited Asa Ki Vaat on the morning of Po Sat, December 21st, right in the midst of the Battle of Sirsa. As his family was being torn apart, Guru Sahib's words gave his Sikhs the strength to carry on. Asa Ki Vaat became a powerful reminder to stay resilient and hold on to their faith, no matter what was ahead. On that cold, dark, and stormy night, chaos surrounded the Sikhs. The river was flooded, enemies were in pursuit, people were forced to make impossible decisions in a matter of seconds. In that difficult situation, Mata Gujri Ji and the younger Sahibzade were separated from Guru Gobind Singh Ji. In a single night, families were divided, possessions were lost, and all certainty disappeared. Yet, even in that chaos, Sikhs continued to fulfill their responsibilities. Battles were fought at Shaheedi, Lakhiya, and Malakpur. Despite exhaustion, hunger, and grief, they stood their ground. This day teaches us something essential about Sikhi. Personal pain does not cancel responsibility. Even when the heart is heavy, duty continues. On Po Art, we honored the Shaheedi of the Vadde Sahibzade, Baba Ajit Singh Ji and Baba Jujhar Singh Ji, during the Battle of Chamkaur. At just 18 and 14 years old, these young Singhs, who we know as Baba Ajit Singh Ji and Baba Jujhar Singh Ji, did not wait to be shielded by others. They stepped forward. They led jathas of 5 Singhs at a time, and they walked into the battlefield, where the odds were overwhelmingly stacked against them. They were guided and driven by discipline and complete trust in Guru Sahib instead of emotion. Their Shaheedi teaches us that courage in Sikhi is not measured by age or any physical strength. It is measured by spiritual readiness and conviction. They did not ask how long they would live. They asked how they should stand. After the Shaheedi of the Vadde Sahibzade, Chamkaur di Garhi entered a period of heavy silence. Inside the fort remained Guru Gobind Singh Ji and a small number of Singhs. These Singhs were wounded, cold, hungry, and physically exhausted after months of continuous struggle. Many had been fighting without rest, food, or any medical care at all. Their clothes were torn. Their bodies were weakened, yet their discipline remained unbroken. By this point, Chamkaur was no longer a stronghold in the physical sense. Its walls were damaged, supplies were nearly gone, and there was no realistic possibility of reinforcement. What remained inside the garhi was not military strength, but spiritual resolve. Outside the fort stood a massive Mughal army, well-equipped, well-fed, and determined to eliminate Guru Sahib and the Khalsa once and for all. They believed time itself would defeat the Sikhs. This was not a battle between equals. This was a confrontation between overwhelming power and unwavering conviction. It is also very important to note that this was not a political fight. This was not something over a person or land or money. This was This was a fight for righteousness. Inside the garhi, something extraordinary occurred. One by one, the remaining Singhs approached Guru Gobind Singh Ji. They did not rush their decision. They were not unaware of their consequences either. Each Singh requested permission to step outside and fight. This detail matters deeply. These Singhs were making conscious, disciplined choices, even though it's easy to think that they were just acting impulsively. They fully understood that stepping outside meant certain death, and they accepted it calmly. Their mindset is captured in Gurbani. Joto prem khilan ka chao, sir tar tali gali meri aao. If you desire to play this game of love with me, then step onto my path with your head in your hand. They were not forced. They chose love over life with intention. Their Shaheedi was quiet, grounded, and dignified. Courage did not need to be summoned. It was already present. We often describe these moments as heroic, but we rarely slow down enough to actually understand them. These Singhs were fully aware of reality. They felt hunger. They felt exhaustion. They had also already witnessed immense loss. Yet they did not allow fear to dictate their actions. They understood that Sikhi does not promise survival. It promises truth. That is why their Shaheedi came without any hesitation. Their decision had already been made when they chose to live as Khalsa. Nirpo pae man. They had already accepted fearlessness through faith. Eventually, only a handful of Singhs remained with Guru Sahib. At this point, the Singhs insisted that Guru Sahib must leave Chamkaur. This decision was not made out of fear. It was made out of pure responsibility. The Singhs understood that Guru Sahib's mission extended beyond just that battlefield. The Panth still needed guidance. Sikhis still needed to be protected and passed on. And Singhs understood that Guru Gobind Singh Ji can make thousands of Khalsas, but thousands of Singhs together cannot make Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Guru Gobind Singh Ji accepted this benti from the Khalsa. To deceive the Mughal forces, Guru Sahib gave his chola and his kalgi to Pai Sangat Singh Ji, who closely resembled Guru Sahib. Guruji left the fort in the dark. As he reached the tilla, he clapped 3 times and powerfully said, "Hind da Peer ja raha hai," meaning the Peer of India is departing. This moment defines Sikh sovereignty. The Guru trusted the Khalsa, and the Khalsa protected the future of Sikhi. This was not abandonment. This was responsibility in its highest form. After the battle at Chamkaur, the battlefield was filled with the bodies of the Shaheed Singhs. The enemy had just withdrawn. Danger was still near. Amidst all of this chaos, Bibi Harshar Ji stepped forward, 19 years old, alone, to perform the sanskar of the Shaheed Singhs. This wasn't ritual. This wasn't necessarily ritual, actually. It was a powerful expression of respect and love. Sanskar of the Shaheeds in Sikhi is about honoring the sacrifice of those who gave up everything for righteousness. Even though the Mughal forces could return at any moment, Bibi Harshar Ji did not hesitate. Without fear, her act was full of duty and commitment. Bibi Harshar Ji attained Shaheedi after performing the last rites. When the Mughal soldiers noticed her, she fought bravely with her kirpan. But after being wounded, she fell to the floor and they threw her into the funeral pyre, burning her alive. She showed us that bravery is not just about fighting on the battlefield. It's also about having the courage to do what is right in the quietest and most dangerous moments. Her seva reminded us that true strength in Sikhi is found in compassion, responsibility, and selfless service, even when no one is watching. Her seva was a clear reflection of her love for the Khalsa and her commitment to the values of Sikhi. Her seva reflected serving with a pure heart and complete devotion, regardless of any risks that came with it. Her actions remind us that seva in Sikhi is not about seeking anything in return. It's about doing what is right, even in the face of danger. Seva kart hoine kami, tisko hot prapat swami. True seva asks for nothing in return, absolutely nothing, not even safety. When we listen to these delicate parts of history, it's so easy to distance ourselves and believe that these individuals were somehow different from us. But they were human. What made them extraordinary was their clarity of purpose. They knew who they were, what they stood for, and they knew what was required of them in that moment. So the real question for us today is not whether we would be capable of such sacrifice. The real question is whether we are willing to live with the Sikh principles and values that they rooted, not only during their sukh, but also in the midst of their difficult times. Simple reflection questions for us to think about in the slightest of light for the Shaheeds. Are we honest even when it's uncomfortable? Are we disciplined even when no one is watching? Are we willing to stand for the truth even when it costs us convenience? It's important for us to all understand that Shaheedi is not only about how one dies, it's about how one lives. Shaheedi Week is not meant to leave us feeling defeated or heavy. It is meant to remind us of the strength that exists within our history and within ourselves, each one of us. The sacrifices and shaheeds that we commemorate this week remind us that Sikhi is not passive. It demands awareness. It demands responsibility. It demands courage. Listening to and learning about this history is not meant to make us weak. Rather, it's meant to make us stronger and unshakable. Closing up, I want to thank the Sangat for choosing to be here today, for listening, and for taking the time out of our busy schedules. Knowing the importance of being educated about this week, about our Shaheeds, about Guru Gobind Singh Ji, about his family, for who Allah Yar Khan Jogi said, "Duniya mein koi dusra aisa na guzra hai, harkat mein hai bijli, to hifazat mein tabar hai. Sach kehta hu, Gobind ka rutba hi digar hai." So Sangat Ji, let's do ardas to Guru Sahib, that we walk away from this week not only more knowledgeable and informed, but transformed and with taqat, more grounded in our values, more conscious in our choices, and more intentional in how we live our Sikhi. While sharing part of our history today, Hunya Pulla Chukka di Maafi Bakshna, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji